Recording is
Just
in
let me
progress.
know. All right, thank you very much, Andrew. Please let me know if when our guest speaker comes on. That is
Name?
Bulongomoto Mwehu,
Okay.
who should be coming out from the DRC today with us. But first, I'd like to welcome everybody to the Indigenous Global Unity Summit, week 103. I am coming to you today from Taoyuan, Taiwan. Just arrived here this morning after a 17-hour flight, and so a little bit tired. I haven't slept since Monday evening, really, but I will do the best I can. We do start these events today by acknowledging those who came before us on this land. So I do say land acknowledgement. I did not update this land acknowledgement to actually acknowledge the people of, or the indigenous peoples of Taiwan. So I'll read what I have here from my land acknowledgement in Canada. So we begin today by acknowledging that we walk upon the traditional territories of indigenous peoples, recognize their history, spirituality, culture, and stewardship of the land, are grateful to all indigenous groups for their commitment to protect the land and its resources, and are committed to reconciliation, partnership, and enhanced understanding. We acknowledge the land we are normally meeting on in the Greater Toronto area as the traditional territory of many nations, as on the land known as Tikaranto, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Wendat, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe peoples, as well as the Métis, and is now home to many diverse peoples. We acknowledge the land we're on normally in Toronto is the meeting place of two treaties, the lands of the Mississaugas of the Credit and those of the First Nations of the Williams Treaty. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13, subject to the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement between the Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee that bound them to share the territory and protect the land. We also acknowledge the Two-Row Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement between the Six Nations of the Tikaranto watershed and the settlers, an agreement that bound them to work together and develop their societies in parallel on their shared lands. In our role as settlers and displaced people on the land, we share the responsibility of challenging and disrupting colonial systems that enact violence upon the land and stand in solidarity with Indigenous peoples. We'd like to thank the Indigenous peoples of these lands, in particular in Canada, in the Great Lakes region, including the First Nations, the Inuit and Métis, for sharing the land with us. We also acknowledge and recognize all of the world's Indigenous peoples as stewards of Mother Earth. So with that, I want to start as well by saying that for all of our friends in Africa, if they are either with us or watching from Al-Kebulan, or Al-Kebulan, Asante Sana, or thank you very much in Swahili. Thank you for joining us today for this IGU Summit. Again, it is week 103. I do like to also say Sawubona, which means I see you, I see myself in you, I see your hopes, your dreams, and your struggles, and I see your ancestors as well, because interconnectedness does not end with two people greeting each other. It extends to include the ancestors, because all beings in Mother Nature are interconnected, and there is no sense of being separate. I see myself in all beings, and therefore, if I harm other beings or Mother Nature, it translates into harming myself. So today, Thursday, May 25th, 2023, again, week 103 of our IGU Summit series, with the guest speaker being Bulongomoto Mwehu from DRC. Hopefully he will be coming on with us again. Please let us know if he's available. I was able to briefly contact him this morning after I arrived, and hopefully he's he's able to connect. So he did confirm that he should be here and be with us. I do like to start with an introduction of who I am, who we are, what we do, with the overall purpose of UnityNet to establish a global network of community Unity Garden learning centers, the hybrid exchange programs and practical learning being delivered by members of the UnityNet's partners to all of our members of the Global Partnership for Regenerative Development, the Learning Partnership for Global Unity, as we call it. So the learning programs intended to be delivered through the Global Sister Schools program in partnership with the members of the Global Unity Network. What we do is we twin some of what we call local INAB collaborative community partnerships through a CTP program of the Science for Peace Drawdown Markham Community Climate Action Hub, which has the goal of building holistic, regenerative, climate smart communities, both in the greater Toronto bioregion, where I'm coming from originally, and in support of the UnityNet and ad hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors project of localization of the global goals and the establishment of what we call a globalized, productive, compassionate, collaborative, regenerative economy that leaves no one behind. So I was saying to one of our members of UNAD in the past weeks, that the best way to learn about the actions and purpose of UnityNet is to attend one of these IGU Summit events. Also to take the training in community-based partnership building from our partner Dance and Fitness Concepts in California, who is among us to try to help us to succeed, because we're doing all this work through UnityNet, the Global Unity Network, to help local people, all people from every country around the world, and not just in Africa, but globally, to structure their own local community and enterprise networks so they're prepared for the critical investments in climate change adaptation and resilience solutions that are coming from all over the world and that are vital for our very survival, and may even allow people in places like Africa to thrive in a much warmer and more extreme climate. But without creating the community-based structures, the multi-stakeholder partnerships with all the community members, as per our HEPTA Matrix partnership template, as transparent nonprofit cooperative management entities, the global investors will not wish to consider to invest in places like Africa if they expect that there may be even a little bit of remaining corruption. So as I noted as well, as a private sector initiative, most high-end investors would much rather put their money into the so-called developed economies, places like America or Europe or Japan or Australia, because the general feeling in most cases is that the developed world is a much safer place to invest their solutions. However, UnityNet is trying to change that perception by showing that it is possible to invest into places like Africa, avoid the corruption, avoid having to use the Bretton Woods system of top-down financing from the World Bank and others, and to make secure direct investments into the people and the solutions that make an impact and still make a profit. But it is because of so much of the historical corruption that is the prevailing perception in places like Africa, that it is perceived as a place, or not perceived as a place, to invest in people on the ground, but are instead places to invest for resources. And so this is one of the reasons why there is so little investment into the people of Africa, except for the extractive industries like mining and logging, big industrial production, which is inevitably controlled by the big corporations that don't usually hire the locals for their skills, but instead hire them for the menial labor, where most of the corporations will instead bring in their own experts from Europe or China or India or the US or Korea or any of the already industrialized countries to manage the projects and manage the profits. You can be certain that these big corporations will not teach you how to do what they do, or provide you with the finance to buy your own equipment to compete with their own personal interests. but will continue to use your lands and your hands and your people for their own personal corporate benefit and profits. So we need to work on the plans for places like Africa, but where the plans should mostly come from the internal discussions, which need to be formalized and presented to potential investors as a package and a roadmap for action for the long term, and must show the potential for profit while also showing the plan of action for the delivery of the essential holistic education and training of the human resources who will manage the productive solutions over the next few generations in order to ensure that growth can be maintained and potential corruption will be held at bay, which is why our primary tool is the establishment of these INAP collaborative multi-stakeholder partnership ecosystems formalized so that those investors can be confident that what they are investing into will be lasting, will endure over time, and will not be squandered into somebody's pocket like a corrupt politician or so-called businessman. So my advice again is do not be dazzled by promises of riches or overnight wealth, because for most of these types of investors, they just want the resources and will take away the profits for their own peoples in their own countries and businesses. So companies like Energyme, and by extension UnityNet, are here to help you to teach you the entrepreneurship skills and both the soft and hard skills that help you to establish your own kind of industrial civilization from the grassroots level, but one that leads the way in the world and is based on regenerative resources, especially the people and their skills and their minds, by teaching about how to be passionate and compassionate, not just about greed and the me first mentality that is so insidious, and where the enterprise solutions that are made of community members also understand that coming together locally and globally to help each other to succeed, all of us together as one human family, and to help Mother Nature and all our relations to also succeed in all of their own local habitats and watersheds and bioregions of this beautiful planet is in fact the only way forward for human survival and for thriving in a much warmer climate. So what it means for each of us in each of our lives, in each of our own local communities, and in the personal business and families we all have, and for all members of UnityNet, is that our mission is all about helping to create a radical shift in our collective priorities in order to try to change the trajectory that we're currently on, to try to nudge the system in the right direction, create some tipping points in our collective consciousness of humanity itself, because we might just be, this might be the only way we can survive what's called the Anthropocene. So with that sort of opening message, I'd like to ask if anybody has seen our guest coming in. Again, please let me know. If not, I will just move forward. So our organization, UnityNet International, here in the greater Toronto region of Canada, where we started, not where I currently am, does help people and organizations in all of our local communities establish these local empowerment networks, the localized multi-stakeholder coalitions and networks that help to attract ESG-based funding for local productive humanitarian entrepreneurs. We'd like to build an international network of researchers and developers as well, to educators for the localization of the global goals, with priority actions focused on regenerative development or regenerative living and lifestyles, which includes regenerative infrastructure and regenerative finance. For us in UnityNet Canada and UnityNet Ontario, both the Greater Toronto Area and the Ottawa Valley as two centers of activity, with Ottawa, of course, being the capital of Canada, where national decisions are made. These are very important hubs of activity for us, especially around the delivery of these social and local solutions for achieving sustainable energy, regenerative housing, and habitat, regenerative food, and the local partnership ecosystems that help to move no one behind, thus helping to demonstrate and achieve holistic health communities for all. The specific areas of focus of UnityNet are renewable energy, sustainable agriculture or regenerative farming, along with food production, grown the regenerative climate smart way. We also have some interest in regenerative water management and waste management or circular economy solutions for the purpose of showing economic growth and expansion, but specifically done the regenerative climate smart way, using regenerative infrastructure solutions run by regenerative humanitarian entrepreneurs. So we support integrated, localized habitat solutions for regenerative, holistic living, learning, and lifestyle developments or redevelopments of our communities that help to achieve a localized, productive, compassionate, collaborative, regenerative economy that leaves no one behind. So within such developments and the paradigm we're trying to create and demonstrate, it should be possible, we believe, to continue to achieve economic growth at the same time as we repair our planet, as we continue along the pathway of figuring out how to achieve and create a robust and resilient and equitable economic system that doesn't require continuous and expanding extraction and degradation of ecosystems to survive, and to be both stable and sustainable and leave no one behind. So our main question to those who we partner with is, how can we help you to succeed in your business? But as the entire economy moves toward a relocalized or localized, productive, compassionate, collaborative, regenerative economy that seeks to leave no one behind in each one of our local communities worldwide. So again, it seems, just looking at the people who are on the line, again, I don't see everybody. I see 6 participants, perhaps 5 now. Just here. I will continue with the regular opening presentation until I get notice of somebody else who may be coming on the line with us. I'm just going to check my WhatsApp for 1 second, see if I have any message from our guest speaker today. MWEHU. Ulongomoto Bienvenue Mwehu is his full name. He is a member of our Unity Arts Network. I believe that is correct. Let me just check one more time. Apologies, everybody. My system is a little bit slow as well.
Well, Lloyd, we appreciate you and all that you do and all the connections that you continue to make for UnityNet International and the important processes, the important connections that we need to make to have a regenerative and sustainable, thriving planet and its inhabitants. We know we're in crisis, and that we must take certain processes in every level: economic, educative, health. There's so many areas in peril: food security, housing security around the world for decades. Western countries, all over the world, even, and we're in crisis, and we better put together all of the wisdoms and the knowledges of all of the peoples from around the world, and especially the elders who possess so many wisdoms, including, of course, and my story is always about, my name's Stephanie Schuler, and I'm based in Toronto, Canada right now, and I'm finishing my doctorate at the University of Toronto OISE, the Ontario Institute for Studies in Education, for the main purpose to address the youth and the child mental health crisis in the world. Canada is one of the leading countries of youth suicide. How could that be? Canada, such an affluent Western city or Western country. So we've got to, you know, adjust our ways of thinking that are you know, they're archaic and they don't serve us. In fact, the systems design that we live in right now is a system from the Industrial Revolution that was done on purpose to keep certain groups up and certain groups down. And it doesn't work because we really have a mental health crisis around the world. We have a food security crisis around the world and a housing crisis. And you know, war and hate and division all come from scarcity, from being fearful that we don't have enough resources. And we know that this can be heaven on earth. This is supposed to be heaven on earth. And we certainly live in a time where we can put this together and figure out how to empower all areas of the world with, you know, with MAP, where I'm the founder of Maui Aloha Project, the Global Eco Village Initiative. This is about having smart cities, whether in the country or the city. It doesn't matter what continent, but where we put all of our wisdoms and multi-literacies together. And if you know how to cook dinner, I'll certainly do your dishes. So this is about sharing our wisdoms and putting together the food security and the housing security. And most of all now, after COVID, the social and emotional well-being of our communities, of our children, of our young adults, of our elders, of everybody. It has thrown everybody into PTSD. For so many people were already. PTSD and loneliness. Loneliness is huge. According to psychology, attachment theory, not feeling attached, you know, and all of us, so many of us were siloed. There were no hugs, no kisses. You couldn't even see another person in different places. Attachment theory is one of the highest predictors of suicide. And why am I talking about this? And how does this connect to UnityNet International and the Indigenous Global Summit? Because all of the Indigenous groups of the world, which is all of our elders, all of our predecessors, there are wisdoms, there are medicines in every tree and every flower and every bush. There are medicines and foods, and we right here at home. In fact, in Ontario, Canada, Ontario and Eastern Canada, we have produce 80% of the world's maple syrup and all kinds of things that, you know, maple is famous for. But, you know, we've got to learn all of these ways that the world has existed since the beginning of time without the big box stores and shipping all around the world. We got to start to take things into our own hands. And my being in the UnityNet International and UnityNet Learning, the kids, the next generations have got to know that, of course, we grow our food, and like Lloyd says, and of course, the kids are outside enjoying the beautiful world that we have, the beautiful parks that our governments put money into that are empty day and night, the beautiful neighborhoods, the beautiful trees that are planted right on our streets, on our boulevards, you know, in so many places around the world. What are they and what can they do for us? And are they food right here? And can we grow simple food through having neighborhood gardens and farms, vertical gardening, all permaculture, all kinds of possibilities are upon us. And we live in a time of ultimate possibility. And that's what the UnityNet International team is all about, putting together the experts who can develop a new systems design that is for our holistic well-being, for inclusive communities, and from an asset-based model. What do you have to offer, and how can we all move forward together? And I'm proud to be part of and UnityNet International, working with Lloyd and Mark and Lisa, who's on the team, and all of the others who have come with all of your wisdoms and insights. And we look forward to continuing our mission. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Lloyd.
Thank you, Stephanie, for filling that space in. We are, of course, moving forward as we can, even though I am overseas now. Actually, I wanted to say as well, just this morning, the moment we landed in the airport in Taiwan, we went up and took a high-speed train into the city, down to the Taipei train station, and then took a taxi over to actually an American education school. And this organization, if you could see on the camera, I'm not sure if I can even see myself there, but this TYPA is what I visited today with my wife. And they have a number of interesting programs in terms of what they deliver for mostly for the expats who are here in terms of the programming. Just the contents of this particular publication talks about how they are teaching kids and providing extracurricular activities in terms of sports and dance and gymnastics and arts and crafts and music and chess and martial arts and drama and technology, languages, cooking, scouting, and a number of summer camp classes. But it's, of course, targeted to those who are wealthy in this particular country. But what we are doing through the UnityNet, Unity Garden Learning Centers, is to try to create a model for all members of the community to participate and not have to pay thousands of dollars a month or even a week for these types of elite kinds of programs. And so there are people who do participate in these types of programs, but they are not, certainly not universally accessible to most people who are not sort of allowed that access to the very good or high level education system that is available mostly through private schools and such types of programs. The other thing I noticed, there was a magazine sitting on the table in the office where I was located this morning. This is the magazine. It's maybe not easy to see. It's called Centered. And there was an article as I was reading through it that said, or was just explaining a small company here in Taiwan and what they do, where there were a couple of people who had started a business growing and teaching people about the different teas that can be created from weeds in their communities. So they're actually going out onto the land and identifying every little species of plant that's just growing wild in the cracks between the pavement stones on your regular walk around the city, and they're then taking those plants and bringing them to a place that is clean and actually harvesting them from lands that don't use pesticides, that don't use herbicides, that don't use any of those chemicals, and then producing teas from those different what most people would think of as weeds. So actually there was this whole article about that. You can see the headline, "Foraging for Weeds." So this is actually a couple here in Taiwan that's doing something like this already. So if we look around, we can find many examples of these holistic thinking, and then the knowledge that we can gain by understanding where we are. And where
Well,
we're living.
Lloyd, it's really interesting because just the other day I was in a major park in Toronto, Canada, Earl Bales Park, and I saw some elders. I believe they were their origin was European originally. They were picking dandelions, which I know a lot about all of this because of MAPR, the Global Eco Village Initiative, and so many things. They were picking dandelions right here in Toronto. So it can happen anywhere in the world. And dandelions, everyone looks here as weeds, but it is known that not only the flower, but also the stem and also the leaves are medicine. And you boil them, just as you said, Lloyd, you boil them and you drink the tea. There are different things that you do with them that each have different purposes. And here, the government and private and everything, spends millions of dollars to get rid of the weeds. So these are things that a lot of people don't know, and those people who do know and are continuing to learn, where it's infinite what's going on everywhere. It's like as though God or a higher being or something new, and we've known, and all of our peoples have known since the beginning of time, that we do have food here. We do need water. We do need energy in the world we live in now. And we know all the solutions. And instead of being siloed, this age of Zoom and communication, we're not siloed, and we're putting all together all the wisdoms. And just like this Indigenous Global Summit, we need to gather the Indigenous wisdoms of the world, all of the cultural wisdoms of the world, all of that. And so I honor you, Lloyd,
Well,
and the team.
I think what we need to do, well, from my perspective, I think what we actually need to do is create hope among the children who have lost that hope for a better future, and
Amazing.
as well to provide them with the curiosity to go learn what is in their own backyards, and to empower them with the tools necessary so they can learn these things about their own watersheds, their own ecosystems, and so because we can't teach everybody everything, but they have to maintain that lifelong curiosity, and to continue learning these things and sharing this types of information among themselves and among other people as well. So I could continue with my own presentation. I'm thinking, because I am actually quite tired today, I may stop short today just because it doesn't seem like we have our guest speaker coming on the line with us. Just to let you know that what we are moving forward with is a Youth Peace Gardens network. So this is actually one of the things that we are trying to establish, and I'll be having hopefully some conversations as well about what we are moving forward in terms of the UnityNet Youth Peace Gardens.
Why don't we, there's a few people on the line, why don't we let them say hello and tell us a little bit about themselves, who they are and what they're doing. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. I'd also like to ask everybody who is on with us, if you haven't done so. So I'm putting some notes into the chat, for the Zoom chat. If you could put your contact information into the chat, we can follow up with you after this meeting, so we can learn more about what you've been doing. I am going to be, or just right now, putting my own contact information into the chat as well, so you can contact me directly, whether it's by email or cell or WhatsApp. Well, not by cell at this point, because as I said, I'm in Asia, so I won't be answering my phone directly. Those charges would be much too high. but I continue to use WhatsApp because that we can use with Wi-Fi, so that there's the chance so we can have a conversation. I will be focusing while I am over here in Asia on development and expansion of our Asian network, especially in East and Southeast Asia for the most part, but also with our friends in South Asia as well. So we do have a network, for instance, in India and Nepal and Sri Lanka, I think are the three strongest ones, also with a smattering of other local but not active chapters in places like Pakistan. But we do want to reach all people on all continents. Of course, we did start in Africa, and so the African network is our most important still to date. And so we try to move forward with our colleagues over there to have them establish these INAB collaboratives and establish an international nonprofit that would help to support and create those INAB collaboratives across the continent to essentially coordinate or assist in coordinating their establishment across the continent.
Perhaps Katrina would like to say hello.
Mhm.
We'd love to hear from you.
Hello.
Hi. Where are you right now? And what do you do usually?
Tasmania.
Oh, Tasmania, wonderful. I saw you once when I was in New Zealand, in Queensland. I saw Tasmania.
You saw Tasmania.
Yeah. Right from the bottom there, right from the bottom of
Yep.
New Zealand. Yeah, yeah. The Lord of the Rings location, right? Something. Yeah.
That's New Zealand.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. And what do you do when you're in
Actually-
Tasmania? What's
Um,
yeah.
I'm a pensioner. I'm on pension. I'm retired.
Yeah.
I am involved in local and family history.
Yeah.
I saw this. I was going through Evans Bright, and I saw this.
Yes.
And I thought, oh, that looks interesting. So
Yes.
here I am. But you don't
And-
seem to. Have you?
Yeah.
Any contacts with Aboriginal people of Australia, the mainland, Australia?
Well, actually, Katrina, my name's Lisa Neese, and we have a number of Aboriginal contacts, as well as with several permaculture institutions out of Australia that have been training groups on the ground in the African interior. And of course, they've been passing my name around. And as a result of that, I myself have interviewed over 940 community-based organizations in 19 countries in
right.
gathering everyone together for this effort to, as Lloyd calls them, create INAB collaboratives. But the entire process follows very closely the process of building nonprofit service organizations worldwide. And so I've been explaining along those terms as to how nonprofit groups actually literally build their massive international structures from the ground up by joining with their neighboring groups of good works and beginning at that community level, because all communities are different. I have had a lot of people asking me to send them a template. And of course, I tell them, if I send you a template, it would be easily 10,000 pages long, because we're looking at covering every possible situation that you would see in a community. And as we're working in areas where there is no actual infrastructure, it is our knowledge that infrastructure begins within the social service, because the social service infrastructure has its finger on the pulse of the people. It knows how many people are in each community, where they come from, what they do, what they eat, what they wear. And all of this information is incredibly important to government institutions, especially those that wish to build up the strength and the power and the wealth of their nation, rather than just see what they can take from themselves off the top. And of course, we've seen a lot going on in the African interior, moving from colonialism to patronage, which truthfully is not much of a move at all. And of course, all of the corruption that ensues as a result. So by building these infrastructures, these collaboratives, what we're going to be doing is we'll be able to show outside groups that no, the African interior is not completely corrupt. There are many, many people of good works. Many, many, thousands, hundreds of thousands. And by bringing them together, we give to them a voice that has true meaning and a recognition by the network of networks around the world of nonprofits whose only job it is for us to help each other. Something recognizable that they can put their faith in and actually take on as partners in planning programs that will fit their communities and actually have full long-term benefits. I hope that explained something about what we're about right here.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, so we do have allies again in the
Gotha-
African diaspora.
Oh yes, there are a great many. One group that I am the foreign advisor to, the Hip Hop Congress International, which is the largest preservation group of hip hop culture in North America, has been doing what they call a roll call of hip hop organizations from around the world. This was initially to form a coalition so they could run their own sport of breaking in the Olympics, rather than have it being absconded by the Russian Federation, who I've watched decimate 3 different dance cultures in their quest for Olympic gold at every single level. They'll be making an announcement on June 13th of this year regarding the coalition that they have formed and their actions and participation in exchange programs for youth throughout the African interior and in fact worldwide, so that we can assist in every way that we can in securing these nonprofit collectives all around the world.
Well, and the other organization that we've been working with is the EDFU Foundation.
Yes.
So we're EDFU, what they're doing, and this is the work that Andrew is doing as well with them through Andrew Networks and the 5 Points Youth Foundation, is to, as we identify, especially the registered local NGOs, is to register them with the UN Global Compact, and that's free. It allows them to register and have a voice at the table, essentially, around the decisions that are made by all those members of the UN Global Compact, which is dominated by the corporations, the 10,000 or so members of all these global corporations. But local community NGOs can actually also become members and have a voice when decisions are being made. So we want to hold those corporations accountable for their decisions that are being made through the UN Global Compact organization. So that is the work of EDFU Foundation as another example.
Well,
so by working together in partnerships, we can do this work.
And a third example is the UN organization that I belong to, the International Dance Council Division of UNESCO, which was what got me started into this program. as I've been working for the last 20 years to bring cultural education back into the public school system as part of a peacekeeping program. Because, of course, cultural education unifies diverse peoples in ways nothing else can, by increasing our understanding of the fact that culture is not what makes us different. It's actually what makes us all the same, because it's born of the same needs of man everywhere. Ceremonies around birth, death, marriage, what we wear on our backs, on our feet, what we do with our hair. These are all basic needs that every human has. But of course, depending on where we are on this planet, we don't have the same tools. So this culture is an actual celebration of all those solutions that we found, given the tools that we had at our disposal.
Did you know, speaking of dance, did you ever come across Lulu Theotoki?
Lulu Theotarki? No, I haven't, but that sounds like that would be a very interesting group or person to have a discussion with.
Well, she passed away a few years ago, sorry.
I'm sorry about that. But no.
But she was instrumental in reviving Greek folk dancing around in Corfu and into the rest of Greece.
Oh, well, I did originally hail from the offices in Athens of the International Dance Council. As a result of my work here, I was bumped to the Paris offices, but I've spent 10 years working with a number of people from the offices in Greece as well. And of course, I've seen probably more than my share of Greek theater and the varieties of Greek cultural dances that were born of the different islands of Greece. And of course, have had more than my share of the history of Western dances, the vast majority of which came from sub-Saharan Africa and were changed and abrogated as a result of the African slave trade. And as a ballroom dance coach and judge, I've run across over and over again many people believing that the ballroom dances are all European, when in reality, only one has European origins, and that's the waltz, which started as the tarantella in the Puglia region of Italy, and then went into the Italian Alps, where it became the volver, and then after the French Revolution, wound up in Vienna as the Viennese waltz. And then from there went further north to become the slow waltz that we know today.
I watched a program a couple of nights ago on the Juba dance that came out of Africa and how it's influenced a lot of
So what I'd like to finish maybe in about the next 5 or 8 minutes or so.
Sorry.
No, that's quite all right, Lloyd.
so-
I have a class to teach in Oakland,
Yeah.
and that's going to take me about an hour to get to from here in San Francisco.
Yeah.
So,
But
So,
I'd like to hear
what I
what
wanted to
Katrina
mention
was
today,
saying.
before we
can-
finish,
Can we just hear what Katrina was saying? She was just mid-sentence. So, sorry about.
well, perhaps there's some delay here, but I thought she was finished. But, what I wanted to say was that today is also Africa Day, May 25th. So formerly known as African Freedom Day, African Liberation Day. It's actually the annual commemoration of the foundation of the original African or Organization of African Unity, or the OAU, on May 25th, 1963. So I'm going to be providing a link in the chat for those who might be interested in this particular day. In fact, that we are on today, Africa Day. and many of our members in the chat groups were actually sharing the fact that it is Africa Day. It needs to be recognized about where they are going, because there is an ongoing conversation among Africans in the African diaspora about coming together to actually create a United States of Africa, which could become potentially the largest country on the planet by far. And if all of those current countries were to come together under a constitution similar to that of the United States, it would then probably become the most powerful country on the planet as well, and most populous. So, sorry, I just trying to get looking at my notes. So did we wish to finish in any final discussions today, or I finish up in the next few minutes? Hearing nothing. I wanted to mention as well that last Saturday was World Bee Day as well. And we do have an entire calendar. Am I still sharing my own screen, or has that been stopped for the screen sharing?
No, we see the Global Unity Network, Drawdown, Markham,
Yes.
the HEPTA Matrix, and Markham INAP.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, looks great.
Well,
So this I just wanted to show this screen as well.
all right. I just wanted to say, Lloyd.
So we are moving forward to build a Youth Peace Gardens network.
Okay, so Lloyd, I just wanted to say that I gotta give you some applause for being awake as long as you have in order to greet us here.
Absolutely, absolutely. Your dedication to this network and to what we're trying to do. Lisa needs thank you for mentioning.
Oh, well, and the fact that he actually does have something available in case our guests speakers don't, very, very consistent with that. And that
Yes.
is also very, very good.
It's true. For sure.
Okay, so I guess we are probably going to wrap up for today. Thank you all very much. It's a very short session, but again, I need to get back and get some shut eye. I think.
Nice to meet you, Katrina.
For the next 12 hours.
Nice to meet you all.
We hope you'll come back, Katrina.
Well, yeah, if I see the.
And for those who would like to save the chat, if you press the 3 little dots at the bottom of the Zoom window, you can see a little option, save chat. I do that every time as well, so you can connect with each other afterwards. And it's actually a lot of the discussions that happen between these meetings where we get things done in our communities and learn about each other and what we're doing. So thank you all one more time. This is week 103 of our IGU Summit event. Again, we're continuing this until the end of the year at least. I believe that Andrew would like us to continue, whether it's with him or with any media partners that we create and establish, because this is actually one of our tasks within our UnityNet international team, is to develop our own media ecosystem so that we have all of our information available to people who would like to learn more about what we're doing. So thank you, Katrina, and we'll see you next week, or perhaps between the meetings.
Yes.
Okay, there we go.
Got it.
Thank you. Good day.